Need to refill my water, Dan. Whatever.
Okay, now we're live. No time for water. We got Ben Slowey, Mr. Nice Guy himself, on repping the merch, on
I
Milwaukee Day.
Yep.
It's never
I
a
wore
better
this.
day.
I wore this to bed last night,
Hell yeah.
so it was just kind of it happened to be, but great to be here. Thanks for having me, Cullah.
Yeah, man. Well, we were just talking about quarantine and how, because we just had some technical difficulties. We started a little later.
Oh yeah.
That's the Facebook.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Synchronicity
Okay.
with the technical difficulties.
Yeah.
It always works like that. I called it into
Yeah. Okay.
existence as I said it. But I always say my internet just went down and you were patiently waiting and you said something to the effect of, you only have a few obligations in life now in quarantine. What did you say?
What some of my obligations are right now?
You said
You said.
eating, sleeping, pissing, something like that. That's what I got out of it.
Oh yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's right now quarantine, being out of work and you know, not having any money and not having any place to be. All I do is my obligations are to my daily personal needs. So yeah, going to the bathroom, drinking coffee, uh cooking and lounging around in bed, uh just being being restful. That's about it.
Yeah.
I don't do anything else really. I go on walks too, but that's just because I just get stir crazy and I need to like stretch.
How often do you leave
Yeah.
your apartment?
Wait, I didn't hear you, Ian. What'd you say?
How often do you leave? Like, are you often just in bed? No, I mean, like for
Oh,
me, I leave like every few days, and that's almost too much. Like I feel overwhelmed, you know.
oh. I let's yeah. Usually I try to go on a walk every day.
That's great.
Sometimes I skip a day. Like today, I'm probably not gonna leave the house. Just because it's cold today,
Yeah, the
and
weather dependent.
I don't know. As like April kind of like yeah. As April goes on, I get less and less tolerance for like just walking around in the cold when I don't need to. So I'm probably just gonna take an off day today. But otherwise I try to go on a walk. Like usually I'm going on the same route. I live right by the Collectivo in River West, and what I'll do is I'll walk like into Gordon Park and go on that trail, that like bike trail,
The beer
and
line, the
I'll
beer
take
line
it all
trail.
the way down till it goes to like Riverview, like the UW.
Oh, the oak leaf trail.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Over there, and I'll like sometimes I'll take it past the bridge, and I'll like go on that bridge like across the river, and then I'll come right back up like Oak Leaf Trail to like the Urban Ecology Center. Um, yeah, like I'll take that because they're all kind of connected, and then like I'll take that back and kind of go in like a big circle, or I'll go. Um, or like I'll get off the trail by like Riverview, and then I'll like go back up back to my house. But it's just a lot of circles, really. I've been trying to go on different, like walk in different places and see different parts of like the neighborhood where I'm like, oh shit, I haven't walked this street before. I'm gonna see what's on this street or something like that. You know.
Definitely. Yeah, it's an interesting time where you're kind of by yourself, but you're able to explore and people are around, but everyone's like,
Cullah?
yeah, I can hear you. Your videos is a little delayed, but I heard everything you said. So.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, you're going in and out.
Okay. So is how many podcasts have you done? Like, what's the number? Do you have a number of how many you've done? Because I feel like your Mr. Nice Guy thing, I've just seen everybody on it, and you've been able to get such a wide variety of people on the podcast. And at first when I saw it, and I was like, oh, this guy's got a podcast, it's cool. And then you asked me to come on, and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then I kept seeing more and more, and I was like, whoa, this is like you've been able to get really interesting and such a the word I thought of it the other day was just such a like comprehensive like look into Milwaukee. Like you've been able to span such a wide variety of interesting people.
Sure.
I don't know if you got that.
Well, thanks, dude. I appreciate that. I'm glad you could be a part of it. Yeah, man. So, yeah, the show. Yeah, I did. I got. Yeah. So I halted the episodes now because of quarantine, but my final count as of now is 379. And that was accumulated just from just kind of like an addiction to like seeing just what I could do with the platform as time went on. Like I just kind of like, I started out doing when I started doing the show a little over a year ago, I was only doing episodes once a week. I just kind of like, was playing it safe. But then like, as I kept meeting people, like, I started writing for the music scene for Breaking and Entering, around the same time. I started meeting more and more people like in the music scene. I also just started connecting with more and more people on social media. Like it just kind of like, I was meeting so many people, like, while also like starting this platform. And after a while I just figured, when I'm not working or when I'm not like, doing things like I need to do, like when I have free time, like I might as well fill it up just like, with content and with episodes. So I just kind of started fitting episodes in like several times a week. That became several times a day eventually. Like
wow.
It just became like more and more of, just really falling in love with just talking to people and just seeing what they're about and hearing their stories and like understanding like what it is like they're, passionate about and how they're contributing to, to the world around them and stuff. And like I got it became just, I just fell in love with doing it. And now it's one of those things I don't think I could separate myself from, like it's something that I feel like I truly like live and breathe is podcasting and interviewing people. And yeah, like,
well, when you're at the point that you're reaching, you're doing on average one a day, more than one a day. If you said you've been doing it over 365. That's what I heard. So, and you've been doing it multiple times a day. Sometimes you did it a week. Sounds like you've almost averaged already more than a one per day of doing that. That's with a different person in a different part of the scene in Milwaukee and different things. Like that's pretty impressive. As far as I'm concerned, like I'm trying to do like an album every year, but you're doing content every day, man. Like that. That's, and to be fully engaged, I think that's amazing. I think you're the right person for the job, obviously. So what's your hopes for like how are you pivoting with this? Like you said, it's such a part of your identity, but now with quarantine, you can't meet people, you can't interact. You've been in that world. So how have you been adjusting? Like where's your mind at, or where's your where's your focus at with that? Like, is it just pause or?
Sure. Yeah, that's a tough question because I've been kind of like wrestling with that
maybe
like the last couple of weeks.
It's all so new.
Actually today, yeah. Actually today, today's April 14th, 414 day. Happy 414 day.
Happy 414 day.
Yeah. Today it's been exactly a month since I did my last episode. And that was with Justin Perkins over at Wire and Vice. And, yeah, like, I don't know, it's hard, man. Like, I've had to, like, I had as you can imagine, I had a lot of episodes lined up, beyond that. Like,
I believe it. Yeah.
Initially, like, I was going to go to South by Southwest. And with that, like, I was going to, have a week away from being in Milwaukee, but then that got canceled at the beginning of March because of coronavirus. And then I'm like, okay, well, since I won't be leaving for that week anymore, like I'll try to do some episodes. But so I planned some episodes to do that week. And that was the week when quarantine started. So I had to cancel all my episodes from then on. So in the past month, like I've had to like, put all of them on hold, and it's gonna be a lot of people I owe episodes to once things start back up. But I guess like, really it was just my goal with the show has just been to take it day by day and just I see it as, every single person that you meet and that you interact with is going to affect you in a different, unique way. And, you never know what you're going to learn from somebody, but you also never know how you're going to impact someone else. And that's kind of like the main, I think what excites me the most about doing each interview, each authentic episode, and I really that was honestly kind of just the goal with the whole thing, and is just keep doing it every day, like as much as I can, and just see, who it gets me in touch with, like where it takes me. My goal is to, because it's a portable format, like my goal is to travel with the show more and start interviewing people outside of Milwaukee more. Like, hopefully just, keep seeing what's out there. So, I mean, like, it's going to be hard when quarantine's over and, I'm going to be I'm going to have to reschedule all the episodes I had to cancel, in addition to people that have asked to be on the show that I hadn't planned one yet. Like, it's almost going to be like doing double the work, which I'm kind of nervous about. But yeah, man, I mean, it's just, people would whenever people would ask me what episode I'm on, and they're like, oh my God, how do you do it that much? Like, it doesn't really honestly feel like doing that much, because I just love doing it. And it's what gets me through the day. It's what helps me make sense of the world. It's my therapy, if you will. Kind of like how, music might be for somebody like you. Like, I just something I wake up and think about doing, and I'm excited to do. And that's what gets me through doing it so much. And I hope that it's something that, I will carry with me for a very long time.
Yeah. I think it's if you show the passion like that, like if you have that and what you're talking about is you say it doesn't feel like it's working, it doesn't feel like it. You found your groove, or you found maybe a vocation or some sort of thing, that a calling or something that you can really be dedicated 100% to and be able to give your whole self. And so it doesn't even feel like a sacrifice when you're doing it, at least, so I think, that's a good thing to run with. And, hope just because more people want to do it doesn't mean you have to do twice as much work. You can put them in a queue, you don't have to, unless you want to do, 10 episodes a day.
I could do
you could do it.
It'll just be a podathon where I just do
just you.
Yeah.
One by one. Yeah. You see how long you can go until you pass out. It sounds like riveting. That'd be riveting.
Yeah.
That'd be masochistic is what it'd be.
Yeah. Honestly, and that's funny you say that. That was why I had to stop drinking so much on the show, actually. Because like at first, like, the first couple months of the show, like I was, drinking like a different kind of alcohol with my guests like every week. And I mean, because I was only doing it like once or twice a week, I'm like, yeah, like, drink and have fun. But when I started doing it more and more, I'm like, I can't keep up, like, just getting fucked up every episode. And like, and eventually, I start interviewing people that don't even drink. So I'm like, so eventually, I had to start like just keeping it sober and spacing them out, and just not.
Yeah, it's all about balance, baby.
Because there's actually one episode that I'm still not too sure how I feel about it to this day, but I had the Nasty Boys on the show in December, and we got wasted, like absolutely wasted. They
rock and roll, baby.
Yeah, man. It was so fun though. Like they brought a whole gallon of fruit punch with like a bottle of rum in it, and we got wasted. And then I didn't anticipate like how much alcohol we were gonna drink for that episode, because I had one right afterwards. I had Kendall Cook on the show right after the Nasty Boys, and I just remember like he walked in the door as the Nasty Boys were leaving, and we were all just so trashed, and I was like, yeah, no, we're doing another one. Kendall, let's do it, man. Let's do it. And like, we ended up doing, so we did that episode. I barely even remember recording that episode. And editing it was so like
sobering,
cringy. Yeah. Editing it was just so cringy, man. Like I was just like it ended up being.
You
like,
still aired it though.
I did. I mean, I'm at the least, I hope it entertained people and that like people still thought it was funny. But really, like I had to cut a lot of that episode out because like I was just repeating myself and not formulating like complete sentences, and I was just I was gone. But it ended up like it just made the cut to like be like a full episode. And honestly, Kendall, like he didn't care. He thought it was funny, and like it really, it just it was kind of in just classic River West fashion,
Yeah.
Just drinking, hanging out, talking, and really it was just him that talked about his work in the DIY scene and just loving River West, and it ended up being okay. So yeah, like
I think I would see Kendall at like every single show I would go to. When I was really on the scene, like going and exploring the scene when I first came, he was always a guy I'd be like, I see that guy. And or there'd be times where I'd be at a show in River West, and then I'd go to a show at Cactus Club or something after, like for the late night party, and then he'd be there too. I'd be like, what the?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he's at, then.
Yeah, dude. Kendall, he is a committed live music guy for sure.
Thank God for people like him.
I would just start seeing him at Nausicaa. Yeah, I'd see him at Nausicaa. Like every time I'd go there, I'd see him at High Dive, Bremen. Like I just see him like at most of the shows I was covering, and then and yeah, like you talk to him, he's like, yeah, like, man, I just love shows.
Yeah,
and, like, dude, yes, exactly. Like, man, we need people that just love the show.
I think there are plenty of people like that.
Just love, just the.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of fan of going to shows. I haven't gone to because there's periods in my time when I'm just like gigging so much. I'm not just engaged. Like when I first came into the Milwaukee scene a few years ago, or I guess now it's been 3 years since I moved to River West, just about almost a couple months. So that's when I started engaging in the scene. And then I would go to every show, and every day there'd be a show I go to, because I just want to know what I've even though I'm from near here, like I'm from the North Shore, but I didn't even know what was happening. You're just so isolated in the suburbs, and there's nothing. Like the coolest thing to do was to like go to a shopping mall and hang out in the parking lot, or go to the park. You can go to the park, but you can only go there till 9 p.m. But you're, I'm a child, but at the same time, like I came here and I would go and then I took a break, and I've been kind of like working and just really like focused on building something and trying to play more. And then when I don't gig, then I'm able to go back out again. And there's this time when I go out, and when I see someone on stage, things that I work through in my head, like there's aha moments that happen all the time. And it comes from like the musician. Like I'll be thinking about stuff, and things will come in my head, and I'll come to some conclusion, or I'll just like laugh in my head and come up with some funny thought, or some memory comes up, and then the musician or whoever it is, like there's some crescendo or some big energy thing, and then I'm just like, whoa. And it's just like, it's, to me, being a performer and seeing that, and like being and having an awareness of the energies, and like what was the audience feeling? What is the performers feeling? How are they interacting? Like, what is the energies that are all going around? And being in the audience and experiencing that, it's an amazing thing to be part of an audience, and to it's so invigorating, and it's so like I said, you can have, at least myself, like I have eureka moments of like problems that I've been thinking about in my head finally all come together. I don't know, like that I think I used it like that, at least that's how I think, because when I'm looking at a performer and stuff, I'm like analyzing everything, and like, okay, what's much less, sometimes I suspend that and just enjoy it and feel it, but that's usually my go-to, is to be like, what is he using? What is that? What kind of effect is he using? What vocal technique is he practicing? Whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I can relate to that from like a being a journalist. Like I just kind of like when I'm reading an article, or when I'm reading like something that a journalist wrote or something, like I look at a lot of those, like the technicalities of it too, or from doing broadcasting in high school, like I started noticing a lot of things about like TV and camera shots and the way movies are filmed, and like learning about like just the filmmaker as it relates to the viewer and shit like that. Like I just started, you never look at it the same way again once you like start doing it yourself, and it's kind of like, from what you're describing, is it's just you develop that instinct where you're just reading the like every like little like attribute of the performer, of the musician, of like, yeah, they're their vocal technique or their instrumentation or like, you know, the or yeah, like how they're tuning stuff, like, you know, all that stuff, like, because you know, because you as a performer, you as a musician, like you're so mindful of all that shit because it's just, you know, you have to be, you develop that mindfulness of everything as you do it more and more. And yeah, like I love going to shows for that reason too. Like, even though I don't play music, like I love watching like just how different performers like interact with the audience, how they interact with each other, like how they segue from song to song, like how you know, how they like incorporate like their, like how they what's the word I'm looking for, just how they design their sets, you know. And whether it's like the visuals, but also just the song orders, like there's just all these components, you know, like I'm interested in all that kind of stuff. And like I don't think that it becomes not just about what you hear, you know, like it's about what you see, how you feel, what you're thinking, you know, like it just becomes a huge like sensory experience. And I love, and like that's why I go to so many shows, and I love telling the story of the show, because like, you know, every performer, every band, every artist, like they're all going to make you feel something different. And it, you know, it's different every time.
Yeah. So wait, so how long have you been journaling or being a journalist for it? For I know, because you were with Breaking and Entering, and there's someone that I discovered a couple of years ago. They're hard to not find in the scene, because they're, and I mean, part of the prolific nature of their stuff is, I mean, your contributions, because I feel like even the DIY, just getting started band can get a solid review, or like a showcase or a show review or something from you guys, which is something that is desperately needed to have a, excuse me, to have, and actually lost it. Excuse me, to have an actually thriving scene is that you
take your time.
I got it, man. It's out. That frog has croaked its last.
I didn't. Yeah. I didn't hear what you said. What was the question?
How long have you been with Breaking and Entering? Like, and how long have you been working for contributing to them?
Oh yeah. Sure. Okay. Yeah, I started. It's been a year and 2 months.
Okay.
My first show I ever covered for Breaking and Entering was Trapper Shep at the back room at Collectivo.
Oh, nice.
On February 2nd of last year. Yeah, it started out like I met somebody at the, I met this girl, her name's Michaela Hoyer.
I know Michaela.
She's a photographer who was doing freelance work for Breaking and Entering. She's cool. But I met her at the Murray Attic because like I just started going to more shows like when I would see that they were happening. So I went to the Murray Attic and I met Michaela there doing photography. And she's like, yeah, I freelance for Breaking and Entering. I'm like, oh shit, tell me more. Learned about like, yeah, it's a DIY blog, covers the music scene. So I connected with Ellen on Facebook. And I'm like, hey, I went to school and I'm interested for journalism. I'm interested in music journalism. Like I want to start writing. Got coffee with him. Like he was like, yeah, man, we'll put you on board. Yeah, it's just
like we could use the help.
Went to my first show like a week later. And like kind of similarly to when I started Mr. Nice Guy, like I was gonna just do one show a week or so. Yeah. I was gonna just do like one show a week at first, but then like similar to Mr. Nice Guy, like this, I realized, hey, I don't really when I'm not at work, like I'm not really doing that much. Like I might as well just start going to shows whenever the hell I can. So, just started going to them, throughout the week whenever I could, and started meeting a lot of people real fast.
Yeah, it's almost, and this is one thing that's, kind of been something that I've been thinking about when it comes to journalism and it comes to press, because it's, with my own trying to figure out internet press and blogs and coverage. And, I think in a lot of ways it's almost a thankless job, and it shouldn't be, but it's almost a thankless job to be like a DIY local scene journalist, where I don't think a lot of musicians and artists and performers really understand the value of having something written about. I think some do, definitely, don't get me wrong, but I think because it's such a lower level of like where it's so inclusive, and there's so many things, you never know. Some projects taper out, some projects continue, some people go. Not everyone has an understanding of marketing and like even the basics of that, or social media, or knowing, okay, having something written, I could use this for promotion. I could use this to, encourage, or show some legitimacy. So I think if any artist that's listening now, like that, doesn't know how to get their music out there, one of the best ways to do it is to just have something written about you on the internet anywhere, and something that's legitimate, something that you can take a snippet from, like, I think I used that. I have you guys on my EPK, like breaking and entering, at least for one of the stuff, like a quote of, here's a quote, and you can use that in your press kit, and yeah. I think a lot of people, maybe, I'd like to at least reaffirm that to people and let people know, like especially people who are concerned about trying to market themselves and trying to have some sort of press kit or some sort of way to show people that you're a legitimate artist that in the industry, or at least in your local community. You guys do that service, and I feel like every day you're busting things out.
Yeah.
And so who's all like contributing? I know we should get them all on here. I know there's Alan. I haven't met Alan. I've met him over like Facebook Messenger and over email, but
yeah.
Who's all there?
Yeah. It's I mean, I'm like Alan's main foot soldier, if you will. Like I was definitely doing the most freelance work for him, but we also have a guy, Patrick Carroll, who is one of Alan's like longtime buddies, who does concert reviews here and there. Like he contributes a couple things like a month, I'd say, and then I don't really know like if there's any other like real regular contributors to my knowledge, but the way it's designed is like anyone can technically contribute.
Sure.
Like, I mean, Alan obviously like is like the content publisher, so like he like kind of like oversees everything, what everyone's writing and stuff. But yeah, like I mean, I think that like every once in a while, like we'll have like one-offs, like there'll be people that like might write something like every once in a while sort of thing, but Alan, but yeah, like me and Alan and Pat are like the only like real regular ones right now. But yeah, Michaela, I don't know if she's really doing anything right now, but she's doing a lot of freelance work, photography for a while.
Yeah, she did some photos.
But yeah, it's not
myself.
I mean, Alan.
Yeah. It seems like he's the main mover, right? The breaking and entering, and that's good. It reminds me. I'm like, shoot, I need to send my stuff to because my album's coming out and I got a single on Friday. I'm like, oh crap. Okay. Uh-oh, did we lose you? Oh, no, you're... Maybe not.
Oh,
Yeah.
what did you say? Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, then we lost you there for a second. You're... Okay, we're back, I think. Well, I guess
I
we
can
can just
hear
move.
you, but not see you.
That's okay. All we need to do is talk, baby. This is gonna go audio too, so if we have a frozen screen for here and there, it's not that big a
Okay.
deal. But you got a nice profile picture though. Sometimes it comes out and I can see it. But
Yeah.
so the
I
breaking and
took the
entering and the
headphones off
Mr. Nice
'cause I
Guy, I
had to
guess.
put my charger on, but
What do you
I'm still
see?
listening.
What do you see the
Thanks.
how do you make sense of all this stuff? Like when it comes to
Yeah, I see yours too.
going out and the lack of going out, like this whole thing on hold, like in general, what's your whole take on it? Like what have you been feeling? I've no there's been so many ups and downs with people. Like I'll be talking to people and people are like loving it, and then there's times when people are like so getting so stir crazy, or like their people's shadow selves are coming out in full force. I don't know. What do you make? What do you reckon with all this stuff? Like, how do you make sense of it? See how long this delay is.
Yeah. Well, kind of what you were saying before about about it being like a
Hmm.
are really stoked on the fact that like they're getting written up on or whatever, or that we publish their content, which I that kind of like what you're saying um, about how there's ups and downs. Like that makes me really really happy, and it's validating, and like it gets me excited that like people believe in what they're doing. But then like the flip side is like sometimes like I'll interview a band or an artist, or I'll have them on my show, um, and like I'll do a write up on them, I'll do an episode on them, publish it, but then they just never share it, or they
Hmm.
never like push it, and never like they. I sometimes like I question if I wonder if they even like watched it, and that is kind of like upsetting, because like I get that sometimes like if especially if it's the podcast, like sometimes people are just like they don't like watching themselves talk, or they feel self-conscious, like I get that for sure. But if it's like a write-up on your band and you just don't if you don't share it, or you don't like interact with the fact that it's been published, like that's where I question, like, do you take what you're doing seriously? Like, do you care that you are being recognized within the scene? And I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I've met plenty of really awesome people in the scene, and like majority speaking, like everyone's been gracious and welcoming, and are like, I've never had anyone just say no when I've asked them to interview. Like that's never happened. But yeah, sometimes like I just don't know. Like I guess I don't really know what someone's like um, rationale is behind like just not embracing the fact that you were a write up was done on you. And those are the moments where like it's kind of like and it hurts my feelings too sometimes. Like I'm like, dude, I took this time to like get to know you, and put this together, and like I like your music, and I want people to listen to it and know who y'all are. Like, that definitely, like, I want, like, some, so it does kind of hurt a little bit when people just, like, I don't know if they don't take it seriously. I don't know if they just, like, won't use social media much, or which I've had that, like, that's happened before too. But yeah, I mean, I think that for the most part, though, like, now this all goes with saying that doesn't happen a lot. Like I said, most people are very, like, generous and appreciative, and they embrace the fact that they're being supported, being seen and heard. And I'd say, like, in terms of Milwaukee's music scene on a broad scale, like, we have so many pockets of really cool innovations with sound and style, and like, collaboration. Like, I think that there's something for everybody out here. Like, I believe in it, I'm excited about it, and like, there's never been a shortage of things for me to cover, of shows to go to. Like, I think it's awesome. But the main thing that I'd say that I really want to see more of in the Milwaukee music scene, which I've definitely voiced on Mr. Nice Guy many times, is, like, I want to see a lot more integration between, like, scenes and stylistic differences, and just, like, see, like, artists go out of their comfort zone more when it comes to, like, who they're playing with, where they're playing, like, just getting to know other musicians. Because, like, it'll shock me when, like, an indie band in River West, like, like, you bring up another band that's also, like, in River West, or, like, also, like, plays pretty heavily in the scene, and they'll be like, oh no, I've never heard of them, who are they? And that'll just shock me. I'm like, how, like, I'm just shocked that, like, you don't know of this person. Like, you should totally play a show with them, or you should totally, like, that's, like, a band I would imagine you would, like, hit it off with, or would play a really fun show with. So like, I just want to see more integration, and, like, definitely, like, more, like, mixed genre stuff. Like, that's what I'm trying to do at Company Brewing right now with Mr. Nice Guy Presents. Obviously it's on hold because of quarantine, but once a month, like, I'm booking artists at Company who have never played Company before, and having them all on a bill, and they're all, I'm curating each bill to be something, like, all different, like everything's from a different scene or a different style, but stuff that still makes sense together. And I had a birthday show at January, and that was really fun.
I was
And
at
then
your birthday show in January, man. I was there.
Did, like, my first official Mr. Nice Guy Presents.
I saw the last bits. That
February,
was pretty fun.
That was awesome, and it was affirming, and, like, I'm really excited about that. So you were there?
I was there. Yeah.
What'd you say?
It's probably best we don't it's probably best to not interrupt, because there's a delay. So, like, whenever it interrupts, there's a big confusion. So I'll let you continue your thought. So where do you see that going with curation? Because I think you're right about integration. I think integration might be the biggest problem with Milwaukee. I think that's literally one of the most segregated cities, and here in River West we kind of have it a little better, a little bit. It's much more mixed, like, demographically and even economically, but I think that's the main stain. You know, it's what everyone is trying to tackle. I feel like at least I hope, you know, that's the main goal. And I know that the bridge between the youth and the scene itself too is a huge burden of like trying to engage that. But it seems recently there was some news, you know, of they were lifting that 21 age limit, right, for shows, that you can have all ages shows. Because when I was in high school, I'd go to Mad Planet with my buddy Graham Hunt, who would invite me, of, you know, formerly, well, he's a great musician from, you know, in his own, of course, people know him in the scene, but I would go to punk shows, man, at Mad Planet, and that shit was fucking fun. I was moshing. I remember I wore, like, my buddy Nick made this shirt, homemade shirt, that was just a sad face with a tear, and it said, "I'm so emo." And that was right in the height of the emo scene when I was in high school. And I went to like a punk show of, like, you know, real classic punks, and they had the mohawks and leather and pins everywhere, and they all thought it was hilarious, and I was just moshing with them, and it was so much fun. But like, and that encouraged me. Like, if I didn't go to those shows, I don't know where, you know, how that would have changed my trajectory of understanding performance, or even knowing that there's something, like, that was my first inside look into, like, oh, there are people playing, like, this is a band from Chicago, that's a band from Milwaukee, these guys live around here, like this, you know, like that, it was mind-blowing. So I totally agree, and I'm glad to see, you know, you guys are doing it, and companies, those guys at Company have been very supportive of that mission. It seems that I've seen more variety at that place than most in River West. I'd say maybe of all the places. Like, they bring in such variety, for sure. And I'm, you know, it makes sense that they'd want you to, you know, to help out and encourage that. I think that's great. The Mr. Nice Guy presents. So you were going to do it every month then. I mean, I guess you know enough folks on the scene from your Mr. Nice. They all work together, man. It's all, I see your master plan.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm plotting.
Good.
Yeah, man. Yeah, totally. I appreciate that. Yeah, like, River West definitely, like you said. Yeah, we do see that. Pretty good. I mean, like, I've seen a lot of good mixed genre bills at Bremen.
Definitely.
Bremen's good with that.
Can't forget.
Yeah, right. And like, yeah, I mean, I've seen a ton of great shows at Company. But then it's like, yeah, like, but then, to see shows elsewhere in the city besides River West, you know, you have to basically go across the city. So you have to go to Cactus. You want to go to Cactus. You want to go to Walker's Point Music Hall. You want to go to Club Garibaldi, X-Ray Arcade. Even, like, you gotta, you know, haul ass across town, like, to see, like, the rest of the music scene, and that's definitely a hurdle for a lot of people, like that. You know, they really have to, like, it's, you know, like, it's nice in River West when it's like there's several different things going on at night, and like, you're like, oh yeah, I want to catch part of the show at Bremen, but then I also want to, like, see a bit of the show at, like, at the Public House, but then I want to finish off dancing at Mad Planet for the night. Like, you can do that. Yeah. And that's what's cool about River West, you know. But like, anything else you want to do, like, you know, you just can't plan, like, you just can't really, like, get your hopes up to, like, you know, go to Cactus Club or X-Ray or, like, anywhere else, like, that's not immediately within that, like, 5-minute walking radius here in River West. So that's definitely that's definitely an obstacle in Milwaukee's music scene, is that, like, there's just, like, it kind of goes into that segregation that we were talking about, like, that there's, like, there's Bayview and Walker's Point, like there's the Cooperage too. Can't forget the Cooperage. Like there's Walker's Point and Bayview, but then there's River West, and there's not a ton of live music elsewhere. And so like in that sense, like there's like that's kind of where those pockets develop, so I mean, like that I think can make it a little it kind of makes it so like there's like the Bayview artists and there's the River West artists, and then there's like artists that are from like there's bands from like the suburbs that come into River West or Bayview every once in a while to play shows, but like there's definitely like that segregation, that like that cultural segregation I should say, that I want to help undo, because I mean no matter what neighborhood you're playing music in, or no matter what venues that like you have played good shows at, like I want everybody to have a good show. I want everybody to like walk out of Company Brewing that night with some new fans. I want to just help different artists meet different people in the city, and just really see like all kinds of different shit people are doing out here. So it's definitely like really fun, and I it's kind of exciting like seeing like putting bills together and stuff, but yeah, like it's definitely like like you have to you kind of have to like I don't really know where I was going with that. It's just like you have to consider like what an artist or a band is used to, and then work from there. But yeah, man, I mean, I think our music scene's in good hands, and I think it's just I think we're gonna get some. It's gonna be great once we can start having shows again.
Yeah, that's a big hurdle. I think you bring up a good point about the kind of these pockets that in Milwaukee, because it is Bayview is such its own scene, and Walker's Point and River West. There are some things that happen on the east side every once in a while, but there's no like venue. There's the Shank Hall. This is Shank Hall, which is bizarre. It's kind of run very strangely. I think I don't know. I've had I've seen great acts come through there, but probably just they have this legacy architecture that's built. That's like I think they have promoters, and of course they have talent buyers, and they probably are on a network that everyone's coming through. And Shank Hall's the place. It's historic and some of the best sounding things I've heard over there, but they don't really have many. I haven't seen at least not a lot of local engagement. If there's a local band on the bill, it's because they knew the people coming through, or which that happened in my case. But the interesting thing about that is like if only we had a technology that could from the 1800s or something that could connect parts of the city. I wonder if what we could do. Or strong wagons, electric wagons. I think that's what we should do. We should put motors on wagons and then send them from place to place on a track.
Yeah,
that's what.
Kind of like the streetcar, but specifically for people jumping from show to show.
No, I think we need to go older than the streetcar. Like streetcar, bringing the streetcar back, it wasn't old enough. You know what I mean? Like we need more archaic technology to like bring back into life. I think that's the most effective strategy forward. Yeah. The worse, the better. No, I'm being a little facetious with that. We have a streetcar that was just built. For those of you who we're kind of making fun of, at least I'm making fun of the streetcar, which was a technology that the Milwaukee did have, and then they tore it up, and then it was just streets, and then they are putting it back in, and a lot of people were I get it. There's a lot of political clout around it in each way, and so there's this divide that people have. Some people don't like the streetcar, some people like it. My takeaway is like I'm pretty cynical when it comes to government, so like I'm happy they just did something, but I'm not impressed, but I'm not like satisfied with it. But at least they're trying something, because I think the overall goal of the streetcar, if imagined or if realized, I think is good if they expand it further out. Because when I was living in Dublin, they had a streetcar more or less. It was the same. It was on the road. It was on a track, and in the city center, it was god awful. Right, like it takes it from stop to stop. It's in the middle of the city. It's gonna take time. But once it hit away from the city center, it was able to cruise. So it ended up being like a really useful commuter rail. So like if they're able to realize it and get whatever they need to do, their funding and whoever, I don't know the politics behind it, but if they can get it to, MLK down to Walker's Point, that'd be a huge win. That would be huge. Like I could see something like the streetcar being. And if they opened it up to be later, that would be even better. I don't even know what the hours are now. I don't live over there, so I don't ever use it. But if they were able to do that if they were able to connect, that's the dream, at least River West. If I could go hop on I know you can take the bus, but but you never know when they're coming. You don't know that they change the routes, and I don't know. I've used the bus, but not as often as I'd like to. I feel like having a rail is something that's more reliable. It's more like where the station is, because it's never going to move, and that changes real estate around it, and it helps the areas grow. It seems that's from my understanding of it, that's how it works, and it that would be a dream. That would be a dream to have River West connected to Bayview. And even up into Mequon, like that'd be insane. That would be I could only imagine a Milwaukee like that, where people can just go from neighborhood to neighborhood, and part of these pockets probably would still be there, but maybe more accessible. People could move from place to place a little easier.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and I mean, like, bigger cities, they definitely have things like that. Like, in Chicago.
Not even bigger cities. Portland isn't that much bigger. I think it's smaller, and they have a light rail.
Yeah. Yeah, like, something... Yeah, like, me as, like, I think, the hop is... I think the way it is designed now, and just how, like, the purpose that it actually serves versus the purpose it was sold on serving is very different. And as of where it stands, I think the hop is kind of ridiculous. I think that it's kind of like the poster example of like gentrification in the city, where like it is something that was developed in an already developed area, and doesn't really bring like on the broader scale, speaking for like Milwaukee as a whole, it doesn't do anything to bring the city together. Like it just kind of like, it goes from, what is it, Ogden to the Third Ward or downtown. Like it just doesn't really like that's like a span of like
right. It's like the Lower East Side to the Summerfest. That's like you could walk that, and
Yeah, like that's a tour. Yeah, like it's a tourist attraction. Like it's like an amusement park ride at that point. It's not
right.
It's not really. I don't see it as an effective mode of like transportation that actually like truly brings the city more in a like more unified. But like you said, if it were extended, like if it went, like into Walker's Point, Bayview, like went into Cullahcast even, and it went like north, like past the east side, and it went into like Shorewood, Glendale, Mequon, like you said. Like, yeah, at that point, you create jobs, you create a more accessible means of transportation, and therefore you get a more just a more like community, a broader community for Milwaukee as a metropolitan area. And like that way, people that might work in Mequon, they might live in Mequon or something, like they have an easy way to get all the way across the city, like, and yeah, and like then like actually like parts of, or like even extending rails into the inner city and like into more lower income areas, so that like they have better access to work and resources and stores and stuff like that, like hospitals. Like that would be a real project that really brings Milwaukee together. But the hop wasn't that. And at this point I've talked about the hop for too long.
Hop on to another topic. Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't know enough about it. You're probably more informed about it than I do, but all I know is that I saw a couple phase plans and then I was like, "Oh, okay, it's a phase plan." But if it doesn't move into these other phases, then yeah, it's a really it's a sign of really failed leadership and failed like they couldn't even I don't know. To me, I've always had this like understanding, I guess maybe because I've heard that Milwaukee has some inferiority complex or something. Everyone here really wants it to be something, or some people want it to stay like how it is, or stay small, or stay local. And I hear both sides and stuff, but I feel like there's been a recent shift in. Maybe it's just because but who am I to say? Because I've only been tuned in for a few years. But I think I tuned in at the right time, because it seemed like, and there is a leadership of vision and stuff, and that was that helped me at least understand a future of Milwaukee, and that was the people's flag. Like the people's flag, when that became a thing, and still is to this day. Like I just read something that they're now going to do another vote in the government. At least they're gonna do another vote to find another flag, and it's like, what? We already have established. Like, do you not walk around this town? It's everywhere. You see the flag everywhere. I have it on my fucking album artwork. Like it represents something to so many people in that want to see a better future and vision for the city. And I think that's a perfect, like the fact that it's a people's flag, and it still is until it becomes the official flag. Like that, to me, it's like that represents everything you want to know about how the relationship with the culture and the people, and the relationship with the governing bodies in the city, because there's a disconnect in culture. And maybe it's always like that. Maybe it has to stay the people's flag. Maybe it has to, maybe it's not the role of the people to govern, like our people, where we have to create the culture and we have to create the vision, and then maybe it takes 100 years, maybe the ideas take decades or generations to fully shift. But I think if we can think like generationally down the line and think about, okay, well, how do we build something that's going to help people 5 years from now, like that, those are the visions of moving forward, of like how do you integrate this stuff? How do you do this? How can you leave your mark? Like you were saying, like, how do you show? The best way you can do is to just show by example or lead, I guess the best way people can, by your actions and what you do. But it's, I don't know. It's a tough thing, because it's like, well, what do we want Milwaukee to be? There's always room for improvement, but like, what's the end goal? Like,
yeah. So So on that note, let me ask you something. How do you feel about Summerfest and the impact it makes on Milwaukee? Because Summerfest is another polarizing thing. I feel some people love it and think it's great. Some people hate it and think it like ruins like the music scene or ruins.
Sorry.
Yeah, what do you think?
Well, I don't know. I went to Summerfest when I was little and I really loved it, man. Like I would go, and even when I was in high school, before they added the bleachers, so that like Summerfest is the biggest festival in the world, or in the country at least. It just lasts for a long time. Let's just be real. It just lasts for a very long time.
Yeah.
And when I went as a kid, I could see some great acts, and it was pretty cheap ticket to be able to see a bunch of different stuff. And there, you go during the day, it's a lot of families, a lot of like it's pretty chill. You see, you do see some local acts during the day and stuff more so, I'd say. But and then I remember just seeing Flogging Molly there once, and it was when there was no bleachers, so there was a mosh pit, and it was amazing. And it was one of the most, it was one of the coolest shows I went to in my life. And now it's just, when you go to the show, you go to watch, you don't go to dance. And I think, they obviously did that on purpose and they changed it. But when it comes to like the scene and like how it impacts like the local people, and it felt so gimmicky for me for a while. So it's like, cause it's like, oh, contest to get your band on Summerfest, battle of the bands, or if you know this person, you can get into this, these contests, and they have all these 12 o'clock slots that bands can go to. And then it's like, I played the big gig. Like now I've made it or something, or now that's the thing, that's the hurdle to cross. And I feel like people are always, there's a lot of musicians that really focus on Summerfest, but when in reality it's like, okay, well, what have you achieved here really? Like, I don't know. I haven't focused on it, let's just say, like, and I know there are avenues to get decent spots through like the established, through radios or through 88.9 or through some other, you got it through some other talent buyers that you probably just have to know, involved in the scene. So I think there is that like corporate level of things where it's not, it is a little detached from this, the DIY scene. They're kind of stark opposites. So like, I feel like they do an okay job of integrating, like the local scene. Like as far as I guess I don't know many other festivals and how they do it, but I've been able to see bands that are, that are just able to play these gigs that would have never gotten it. Yeah, it's at 12 o'clock on a Tuesday, 12 p.m. on a Tuesday, but they're still there. They still integrate them. And I know it's a challenge because I know a lot of I'd be like, well, you need to have local bands that play right before headliners. Like that's the, or like that's how you actually get these artists out. Like give them these bigger opportunities instead of just 12 p.m. And I know that, but I know there's different, probably contractual obligations that all these lawyers and talent buyers are like, okay, well, this person can open, this person can't, and I've been seeing that more. Like, I think I saw Be Free was there, and Lex Allen had performed like before some pretty decent names. Like, I think, what was it, last year? There were some good ones. Robert Randolph and the Family Band? No, I forget what it was. But so you're seeing that a little bit, and I think that's good. That's definitely 100% good. And, but I've also been to Summerfest where it's like, I don't ever want to see that band, and people are literally getting trampled. And so, and to me, it's like, and you're paying $10 a beer. So it's like, I go on the day when it's that free day or whatever. And there's a being like my friends playing at the up and coming artists stage and stuff. So, I go at the very end usually, unless there's a band that I really want to see, which hasn't been. There's been some okay acts this past few years, but I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it so. I could understand why it's so polarizing, because it is that like kind of fuck the man thing, because they do have some of that. They do have some of that corporate, like, get the big name, like what they got Billie Eilish last year, and they're getting Justin Bieber and stuff like that's as man as you're gonna get it now. Like that's as deep in the industry as you can get. These big, huge pop stars. So I think it's tough to play both those games. I would imagine. So at least they're doing some of that. So it's I don't know enough about it. I guess I don't know. I don't think too much about Summerfest. I don't really try to get the gigs there. If it happens, it happens. When it happens, it happens. As far as I'm concerned, if someone's gonna ask me, and I'll be like, sure, I'll play. But until then, I don't really think too much about it. But I don't have a manager, so they wish that's. If you want to tell them, if you want to do
it. Yeah. I think. I totally get what you're saying. Like, it is cool that, that they will juxtapose, like that they have been sort of like expanding on the local music more in the last couple of years from what it looks like. Like I know Zed Kenzo opened for Lizzo, and that was cool.
Yeah.
Like, like it's cool that they are starting to juxtapose the local scene with the bigger name acts more. But as far as like sort of like the nature of it, I don't really like Summerfest that much. Like I never really liked it like too much. Like even when I was going in college, just like socially, like it's like I would go like one or 2 days and just to like walk around and see friends and stuff, like, but otherwise like Summerfest isn't really it's not something that like I really like pay too much attention to or look forward to, like, year by year. Like when the lineup comes out, I'll look at it and I'll be like, oh yeah, like maybe I'll go see that artist. Like last year I saw Bon Iver, and I had never seen Bon Iver before, and I wanted to see him, so I did. Like if there's an artist that comes that I do want to see, I will go to Summerfest to see them. But I don't really care for the just sort of like how it's kind of as tourist trappy as it gets in Milwaukee, where it brings in a lot of people from out of the city, and people, I feel like, from out of the city can easily define Milwaukee by their experience at Summerfest. And that's kind of part of it that, I don't really like. I don't really like care for that much. Like, I'll probably go for like a day, and just to like walk around and get some food, some beer. But yeah, like it is expensive. I'm not. Yeah, I would just much rather see local music, or even just big name acts. I'd rather see in like more intimate settings that just aren't as crowded, aren't as just so oversaturated. But I mean, some people like Summerfest and they like that crowded energy. They get excited for it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's just not really for me.
Yeah, we got Cassie in Facebook. She just commented. She said she is echoing your statements. She said, I'm glad to see opportunity for local artists and see them showcased on larger stages. However, as a local music lover, I would much rather see local musicians at a local venue than the bustle of Summerfest. If I went to Summerfest, it was to cruise headliners. I found maybe one cool new local artist tucked away in 2 years of attendance. So
exactly. Yeah, she's right. Because, like, I remember going last year, I think. I went to Summerfest. And, yeah, like, I think I recognized, like, a singer-songwriter. Because, like, I know there's, like, those ground stages, like, with, like, the all local music, but it's just a little grassy, like it's like a lawn, a little.
Oh yeah, I know the
lawn,
lawn one.
like and a tent. And a tent.
I saw Case there.
And there's. Yeah.
There wasn't enough chairs.
Like,
I went. I'm like, I couldn't sit anywhere. I'm like, well, I guess I'm going somewhere else.
there's no chairs. It's just like
there's no. I guess it's standing room. I guess, but it's like no one else is standing. Isn't it like the place to chill out? Like, isn't like the chill spot, right? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, it's like by the south entrance, I think.
Yeah. Man, I'm losing my voice or something.
Exactly. Like at that point, it's like the local music is, the only like the platform it gets is like this tiny little like side area where people are just kind of like noticing it and passing, but they don't like. It's not like a focal point, and that's what's frustrating. Like, I want to see our local bands, our local music. I want to see it on like the bigger stages, like you know the Miller Lite stage, and at like maybe later times of day, like like you said, opening for bigger acts. Like we don't need 10 battles of the bands. like I get it, it's cool and it's exciting for the kids, but I feel like when I would walk around Summerfest during the day, it's like there's so many like battles of the bands everywhere. So that I feel like does that have to be channeled so much into the entertainment throughout the day?
And then, I mean, it'd be cheaper for them too, taking some Milwaukee artists in there. I'm sure they won't be charging as much as some of the, but that's the draw, right? They need to get the bands to get the draw, and that's probably their business model, right? Is you're taking a risk, right? It's just with any talent buyer in any venue, right? That isn't more DIY focused or community oriented, is that it's like, okay, when I book tours, it's like some of the people you have to be straight up and tell them that I'm going to bring 10 people if I'm lucky, like, and you have to be straight up, but some venues don't, I've been doing things where I don't say it, and then I wait to see what they say, because if it's a new city and I'm learning the lingo and like what people want and all that stuff in the booking, and starting to get in like looking within the talent buying and booking world and seeing it's a business like anything else, man. It's like the fact that they're opening up to it is a good sign. I've been seeing that more. I hope they continue to do that, because the more, I don't know. And that's the thing you get worried about, at least I get worried about with Summerfest, is like it's in the Summerfest grounds, which is kind of like tucked away. It's like its own little island almost. Like it's like this island that turns on once a year. And it does have the fests, right? Like Italian Festa Italia and like Irish fests and stuff, like, and those have their own little worlds too. But what Summerfest is the big kahuna, and it does feel a little like it's its own little world, and you do worry that it's so insular that, well, like you said, like, well, it's kind of, what's the point there? Like, how all these people, if you're not getting these, if you're not going to have the local acts when there's a real draw, but I bet the reality could be they have these big names and someone brings someone, and then they put a local act on and everyone leaves and they go somewhere else because they didn't come there for that. They came there for whoever, they came from Chicago, or they came from somewhere. I'm just being real that you see that at shows. I'm sure you've seen it a million times, where sometimes, there are people that will stick around, but, and, from the artist perspective, or from the performers, or or a fan's perspective, they might look and be like, okay, well, people are sticking around, they get new fans, that's great. But if you're the talent buyer, you're running this business of Summerfest, right, where you're just it's this big giant machine, they'll probably look at that and be like, oh God, like that's not good, like that's not what we want. But who knows? You know, I that's a crazy world, and we can only really just encourage as best we can the behavior of including and including the Milwaukee thing as much as we can. But at the end of the day, it's still the big gig. It's just, you know, it's still the you know, they're as industry as soaked, like deep, like, you know, music industry soaked as you get in Milwaukee, other than maybe the Marcus group or something, or Fiserv, you know, like obviously Fiserv has probably got, you know, whoever was working in that. I don't know that much. I remember I saw, I think a backline, one of the best backline ones I've seen was different talent buyers and booking, and they brought the Miramar guy, I think, and Kelsey from Cactus, and the Marcus group booking guy there, who did work with Summerfest. And so I would encourage any Milwaukee artist or whatever to go look at backlines. One of that, they'll be able to go and, you know, you're interviewing people from all different levels of booking and just knowing their priorities and knowing a lot of how that works. That was a big insight for me watching that. And then I was like, oh, I need to start watching more panels about booking and figuring out talent buying. And then I started doing, you know, CD Baby's got one. There's backlines in every corner of, you know, every big city. This backline is this organization in Milwaukee, partnered with Generator and Radio Milwaukee, I think, is a partnership with them, and they have their own, they have their thing in No Studios, their campus, or not a campus, their offices or whatever it is. But at any rate, Summerfest is a strange Milwaukee phenomenon, and, you know, it draws people, and they've, you know, it does feel like a tourist trap. I agree, like, because there's all the shops and people are selling crystals, and they're selling, you know, and they're selling these shirts and gimmicks, and the food is way overpriced. It feels like a fair, right? Like, it feels like the state fair, but just a little more culture, just a little bit. But more non-Wisconsin people. Like, the state fair is like, yep, everyone here's from Wisconsin.
You know,
like,
state fair is like everyone from the state comes and congregates in town, and you eat a bunch of deep fried shit, and you know, you look at some cows and some horses and
see some 80s cover bands.
Right.
Or I remember I saw Tesla was there once. I was like, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. State Fair, is that even going on? I don't even know, man. Probably not.
Yeah.
Or no, it's in August.
Yeah, it's August.
So,
Cullah, the last thing I wanted to ask you.
This is my interview, man.
Yeah. Well,
you can't take him out. You can't take. He does an interview for a couple weeks, and he can't help himself.
I'm too used to this. I'm so antsy to interview people. No, I was just gonna ask you how the quarantine has affected you and like your shows, and like how it's inhibited your plans, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's you probably know, because everything is halted, and if you're an avid scene, and you sounds like you were active in booking things and stuff too, so you've probably gotten a taste of that too. It's just basically, I had 2 tours, West Coast and East Coast tours, that I had been spending months preparing for and saying out. And East Coast or West Coast was going to be this, like, next week. I was going to be driving out and going all the way, through California, like 2 weeks of gigging, and then East Coast in June, and they're both just nope. Everything is canceled or suspended. It's just like gigging and being out in public, any gatherings is just suspended until future notice. And so it's something. This is the year that I was really going to blossom in my road readiness, and I had I fundraised for a van, to get it, and now I had it locked and ready, and then everything just went down, and I was like, oh shit, like I don't know if I should do this right now. Like I don't think otherwise what, I'm going to be paying insurance on a car that's not being used, or also like what are the risks of even, because I'd have to go to Michigan to get it. So it's like, well, what are the risks of leaving the state and going there? Like now every state has different, quarantine measures and shelter in place measures. And so traveling is weird, and it's only going to get weirder. It's just like everything is halted, man. Like everything as far as that, like as far as this was the, it was going to be a, live tour. Finally, it was going to be like, all right, finally tours, like multiple tours. I was going to get it where, this year is going to be the real test of like, okay, how do I break even at least on a tour? I had a whole band ready to come. We had we were going to, and so for both tours, different ensembles. And so I don't know, man, it's just on hold. And I've been seeing things just today or yesterday. I saw like, no, you should not expect to be playing like normal until next year. And I was just like,
yeah,
what?
I saw that.
I was like, and I had been seeing some of that stuff before, and I had heard other people being like, you need to be prepared for this. And so it's like, oh shit. So
yeah,
what, like this was, but for me, it's like I'm returning back into my high school self, because like I had only started gigging 3 years ago. Like, so I was ready to get it out, but I'm like, okay, I can go back to my, like, I'm getting a new computer. Some of that money I fundraised for the car, it's like, well, now I have to I have to adjust, and I have to like figure out what I'm going to do. So like I can stream. I'm using two computers. Like I have a computer where you're at, where I'm looking at you, and then I'm looking at my other computer that's streaming it. So like because I can't do it at once, otherwise the machine overheats and shuts down and stuff. So it's like I need a comprehensive machine that can stream, because that's the name of the game now. It seems like is the streaming thing, because no one has any other options to consume music other than in live streams now. So luckily I have some awareness of the engineering of things, and I can build my own machine, and I can set up the stuff, and I have some like understanding of words where I'm in an okay spot where I can start to perform live, and I can do it more regularly. But and I know the things that I need to do to solve that. But so I just feel like I'm back in high school again. Just like I just feel like I'm by myself, not going out to shows, not dating anyone. There's no women. Yeah. There's no women around. I can't see them. I can talk. You can have communication, of course, like we're talking, but it just feels like that again. It feels like I'm back in high school, like playing with computers, not going out, afraid to talk to girls. Like,
yeah.
But this time I'm not afraid. I just can't. You
right.
can't meet them. You can't meet with anyone, man. You can't. At least for now, we'll see. I think things are going to start to open up. In at least we got another month of this, though. I think at least of like solid quarantine. They're even closing state parks and shit, man. So it's a challenge, man. I feel like we're all living in an underworld right now. Like like the underworld is reality. Like we're reality is a shadow now. We're looking at the shadow of like how things can be bad, and but we're getting a little taste of it, and it could be much worse from what we're seeing. This could be way, way worse, and we're hoping, at least here in Wisconsin, that we're actually flattening the curve. It seems like the initial data is looking like, from all the projections, is that things are looking okay in terms of like the worst case scenario isn't happening. So that's good, at least in Wisconsin so far, so as long as we continue this behavior that we've been doing, then at least, and then we can start to maybe open things up and start to gather maybe of like a few people, but it really is going to be determined by the testing that we can do. Like, and I don't know, like, I keep saying to myself, I don't know how long I can do this, but at the same time, it's like, well, we might not have a choice. It might be a challenge that, like I've been seeing pictures of how people were in the Spanish flu, because this is like basically what happened in the Spanish flu is is that people, and we can see people going around with masks just like now. And like, people had the same concerns about what this is going to do to the government. What's it going to do to the world and the economy and things. Now it's, it's not 1912, right? The Teddy Roosevelt isn't running, and, Eugene Debs isn't, but, but we got our own situation now, and politics isn't making anything more, making everyone feel better about things. That's for sure. Some people actually, though, they are. I read I saw this interview of Gallup or Pew or something, and they had canvassed people how they feel during this time, and conservatives actually are feeling way less stressed than liberals, and I think a lot of that has to do with their guys in charge in the White House. And you look back and you see during crisis when a more liberal person's in charge, the conservatives are more stressed, and I think that has a lot maybe more to do with perception through media, but like that shows you how these different groupthinks really, there's a real stark contrast. So, I mean, I don't know. I need to walk outside more often. I'm like losing my voice, but I need to go walk outside more often, but I'm doing okay, man. I'm like just creating more, and I'm doing more Cullahcasts, doing more of these things, talking more with people. Like this is good. Like we can communicate, and people are tuning in, and people are watching, and we're able to still do this. In the Spanish flu, we didn't have Google Hangouts, and we didn't have Skype, and people were just chilling.
Cullahcast.
There's no Cullahcast in 1912. Maybe there is.
No, there wasn't.
I don't know, man. I don't know how. It just kind of have to adapt. I feel really, really awful for gigging musicians who it's like that is their income. Because to me, it's like I was able to make good money from gigs especially when I'm doing a solo thing. You can make a solo thing work, and you can be a gigging musician, and you can have regular gigs that you play where you're getting good, solid, regular income. And now, like, that's over. Where the majority of my income comes from like internet royalties, from Spotify and iTunes, and from Patreon and stuff. So luckily I'm in a much better position than many, many, many other people around that I see, where it's just like, wow, like, because like I said, I'm new to the gigging game, and I've been able to see it, and like this was going to be the big test of like how to make touring a regular source of income that I can rely on. That was what this year was supposed to be. So it's kind of on halt, but I don't know. I'm there with you, man. Just like waiting, just like I hope this doesn't last too long, man. But that's the myth of Hades. That's the myth of hell. It's eternal suffering. It's made to feel like it's eternal, but it's really not, right? Like we know, we can look at history and we have precedent. We know, okay, we can see, we know about these viruses. We even have a little indicators of like Europe and Asia, and we can get to see them and see how they were impacted before we were, so it seems like things are slowing down there. And so they're plateaued at least, and then went down in China. At least that's what they say. People question whether that's legit or not. It will remains to be seen. Every country will be different. Yeah. And but in terms of worldwide travel, that's probably not going to happen for another year. You know what I mean? Like, I was planning to do my first European tour at the end of the year. Like, I was planning to UK and Germany, and so now that's, it's probably just going to be, okay, everything's just delayed a year. Next album, I guess. Like,
right, yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, man. Yeah, dude, I'm there with you. Like, there's a lot of existential dread that comes with what's happening right now. Like you said, like, just now having, just not knowing is kind of like the worst part, is like not having any certainty over when this is going to lift, and when we can readapt into our normal routines and enjoy things in the full capacity like we once did. Like, yeah, like It is definitely, it's frustrating, it's scary, it can put people in despair, but I think that the I mean, we have to take advantage of it in little ways though, you know, like you said, you're being very creative right now. That's fucking awesome. Um I think you know, for me, like I love watching movies, and I, you know, have a huge list on my phone of all the music I have to listen to, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, I would work at it, like, you know, periodically, like work on my lists and stuff, and you know, now I have all the time in the world to like indulge in music
Right.
and movies and all that stuff, and I'm finding a lot of really cool stuff, and I like,
You hear that,
and I'll
musicians? You
never
hear all
have
the
this much
musicians out
time
there?
in my
People
life.
have, they have nothing better to do now but listen to music. Okay, this is the time for musicians to
Yeah,
rise up. Yep.
right. Yeah, man. Like I'm enjoying that part of it. Like we'll never have this much time again to just like, you know, just be introverted and
Yeah.
pour into things we never have the time to do, like normally have the time to do. So that I like, but at the same time, like, yeah, I miss my show. I miss
Yeah.
going to shows. I miss my friends. I miss, um, you know, I miss. I even miss going to work, man. Like, you know, I miss.
Yeah. I missed the paycheck.
Man, I miss washing dishes. But yeah, yeah, yeah. But I digress, though. Do you have anything else you wanted to talk about before we?
Nope. Yes. I think it's we're getting to that point. Yeah. We've been an hour and 38. We pretty much without a hitch. There was a little moment there where I lost you, but we're back at it. And this whole teleconferencing thing, you know, like we gotta. I'm learning. Everyone's learning now. We're all adapting and we're all learning together. I would just add that we're all just trying to figure this ish out, you know, and everybody's doing fine, you know. But we got, you know, we got to make sure everybody's doing fine. That's not true. Everybody's not doing fine. People are struggling, man. And but we'll get through this together. Humans have gotten through a lot worse. Americans have gotten through a lot worse, and we're learning some really valuable lessons. The whole thing for me, it's very serendipitous that this is cultivation because, like I'm that's what this whole album was about. It was about embracing the dark shadow side of things and using that to be able to build the light and the goodness in all of us, because you can't have one without the other. You can't have times of jubilation without these times of anxiety and despair and confusion and panic, you know, almost. Or people haven't been super panicked, but I've been seeing some panic going on, you know, and things and so it can get a lot worse, and so hopefully we're just getting a little taste of it to just to like be, you know, maybe the virus itself is a vaccine, you know, hopefully the injecting into humanity, that we can have a sense of like, oh, like, okay, slow down, what's going on, you know. There are silver and gold linings in all things, and they're necessary. These times of being alone and being afraid and being depressed, or you know, this feels like eternity. It's just imagine how good it's gonna feel when it's over. You know what I mean? Like that's the where we're going to. So it's take it one day at a time, like you said. How you do your how you approach your creative life and your life. Everyone is able to now be face to face with themselves, which is good.
Yeah.
You know, so people. Don't be afraid to call people, you know, and video chat people. You know, you don't have to live stream it. You can still just. I have to tell myself that it doesn't have to be part of work. You can just talk to people. I'm like, oh, if I'm going to chat with my friends, I'm going to live stream. But yeah, no, I hear you, man. And I'm glad you're holding up. I'm glad we can laugh. And I'm glad to talk with you on 414 day. It all worked out perfectly. I've totally forgot about it until Radio Milwaukee told me, like, oh, 414 day, you want to, you know, I have a song out, a single actually. I should probably have said that, but I have a single out today at Radio Milwaukee. So appreciate you being on here with me, and we can chat with each other about the city that we both love, and we, you know, in River West, in a neighborhood that we both adore. I know that. So yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for being on. And everyone can find your work. They can find Mr. Nice Guy on Facebook, right? I have the links in the description. I posted it in the chat. I can post it again. Here, I'll post it one more time. And definitely tune into your podcast. It gives you Mr. Nice Guy. If you want to get a direct shot of Milwaukee into your dome, that's Mr. Nice Guy, I'd say. And Breaking and Entering as well. You know, good definitely good resources for all musicians here and in Milwaukee, and for those of you who are looking for things to dive into and to explore. A wealth of entertainment and a wealth of personality. Thanks, Ben. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, man. I had a lot of fun, and it's good to see you too and interact with another living, breathing human soul.
That's always a good thing. Hopefully, it'll never get old.